All right. Hi, guys. Mariah Gates here with Accelerated Automation with another software demo for you. I'm so excited to show you Salt. If you haven't already seen it, you've probably already come across them from time to time through different mediums, but really great way to systemize your intake processes, whether it be from the prospect themselves or internally with your team. So I absolutely love, systems, processes, organization, all of those good things. They're great for our E&O and great for training. So I'm super excited to introduce Dustin and Emery here. They're going to give us an awesome demo of Salt and give you an inside peek. And then that way you can reach out and see if this is a solution for you. They have some really cool stuff coming as well that'll be new that they'll get to share with you. So Dustin and Emery, thank you so much for being here with us. Dustin, I'll let you go ahead and get started. Tell us about Salt. How did it get started? And we'll just go from there.
Thank you, Mariah. Love your energy for the industry and InsurTech. And just want to thank you. Enjoyed getting to know your team and Accelerated Automation for what you guys are doing for the independent agent channel. This is Emery Walker. She's in Jackson, Mississippi. She's over a decade in the independent insurance agency space. Helps me with our middle market tier and onboarding for our customers. And I'm Dustin Parker, our co-founder at Salt. I'm here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And really just similar to Mariah, was an agent and just saw a lot of pain and a lot of problems that, maybe I was a little arrogant, but felt like we could maybe do something about it. And my story goes back, I bought our agency from my mother and learned a ton about insurance, especially personal lines from her. She was passionate about providing home and auto insurance and protecting families in our community. And when I got in the business, we were still filling out, paper documents. I moved us to Excel for data collection. But I watched our account managers, our producers, try to gather 210 data points for home and auto insurance and then load it all into the rater. And I think I actually did put a dent in the sheetrock with my head. But I can remember hitting my head on the wall, like there's gotta be a better way to do this. And that was, really 12, 14 years ago. And so fast forward to 2019, we sold all of our home and auto insurance business and used that money to fund and start Salt. And I met Jonathan Simmons, my co-founder. He's a brilliant technologist, software developer, and business leader and entrepreneur as our CEO. And we worked for a couple of years almost before we came to market. Actually, about this time in 2021, spring, we came to market and selling Salt as a software service to agents. So that's where we come from. I have a huge passion to see the independent agent channel be the strongest channel for distribution for personal lines insurance. When I got in the business, independent agents were about 25% of home and auto distribution. And the main language then was independent agents are going to go away as a viable distribution channel. And I'm so proud of our industry that today we're 38% of distribution for home and auto. So they could not have been more wrong. We're the fastest growing distribution channel in the ecosystem. And I really feel like marketing and tech stack are the two areas that hold us back from being the dominant distribution channel. And so I think there's a super wave happening with InsurTech for brokers right now. And I think we're going to close that gap even more. And so when a Salt customer starts to really connect with what Salt can do for their agency, and they get passionate, we move them over to what we call Salt Shakers. And so one of our Salt Shakers is Jacob Eisenreich. He's with Weatherby Eisenreich, and we're starting to collect video testimonies. And he was on one the other day, and he just said, you know what? I love Salt because it handles the data collection, it handles the data transfer, so I can spend my time advising and consulting with our prospective customers. And I just really I had a tear in my eye because I was just like, yeah, that's what it's about, because the independent agents are, we're known for that personal relationship, that expert advice, and helping people really protect what they've worked hard to build. But if you're spending all your time collecting data, finding out how far the fire hydrant is from the house, it's hard to do that. It's hard to flip the switch and be an advisor when you're stuck in the data collection chair. So that's really where we come from. And I'll move it over to Emery to do the demo in just a minute, but I'd like to be more specific. And we're here to help independent agents acquire customers efficiently. In a day when we're in a hard market, when we're fighting inflation and it's hard to find talent, that efficient collection of data and acquiring the customer for home and auto is critical. It's critical for the economics to work. And so that's what we're here to do. We live exclusively in personal lines. That's what we want to be the best at helping agents acquire customers efficiently in personal lines. And we do that in three ways. The first is we help agents have a custom branded application and deliver beautiful prospect experiences to their prospects. That's your first impression. When you start to gather information and go through the application process with your prospect, that's alliteration here. That's going to be an important first impression. We want to help you deliver that great prospect experience. Second, we're going to solve data collection and data transfer. So think about it like this. If you're collecting that data, we're going to allow you to do that both from a consumer form and an agency form, and then wherever you want it to go. If you want it to go to the rater, we've got that covered. If you want it to go to your CRM, we can help you with that. And then finally, you've got centers of influence, whether they're internal, like a commercial producer, or they're mortgage broker or financial planner. We want to really help you be that, almost that missing link, literally, to be able to help them provide that introduction. And that referral is ready for action. Like, they don't want to wait for a day for a phone call or go back and forth in email. So we're going to help you provide them a custom link that they can go right into that application process and into the rater, so that when you're calling them, you're actually calling them with some knowledge and some solutions. So I'm going to stop there, but as we go through the demo, just remember, I might point out those three things: prospect experience, data collection and transfer, and leveraging your referral sources. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague. Is that all right, Mariah? Are we ready for a demo now? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, there's so many things that Salt can solve. I mean, I just learned about the custom forms yesterday. I was so excited to hear about that, because referral partners is, I mean, let's face it, that's just where the best, absolute best marketing is, right? I mean, you can have the best lead vendor, you can have, great cross-sell, you can have all of these other things that you're doing, marketing events and things. But if you have solid referral partners and it's easy for them to refer to you, we all know that's where the business comes from. They're the best customers, they're the best retention, best close ratios, all of that best for the agent. So when I saw that, and even the fact that there's a picture, that was so cool. So I'm really excited to see this demo and share this with you guys. So Emery, let's jump in.
All right. Well, thank you again for having us. Let me get my screen share here. So the most efficient way is for the agent to send a link out to the consumer for them to fill out. So the landing page will start here with the agency logo at the top and then a custom welcome message. And the customer will then begin the flow.
And this can be a link, or it could be embedded in a website, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So you can have this really professional flow right on your website, kind of like the big dogs, but for us smaller agents.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of QR code use where they're putting it on tents at referral sources, or sending out the old-fashioned mail campaign. Some of our most tech-enabled agencies also do a lot of mail.
People have gone away from it, so there's not as much of it coming into your mailbox anymore. So it actually stands out a little bit more.
I'm going to walk through the home and auto, just a short version today. The customer does agree here to the terms of use and privacy policy when they hit the continue button on the screen. So we'll begin the process with just some basic data here. This screen's important. The agent will get a notification when the customer initiates the form, and then the customer will then get reminders if they were to leave the form for any reason and not get all the way to the end. And those are set up on
when your kids start screaming and fighting and you have to put your phone down, and because you said the majority of your guys' completions are mobile, right?
Yes.
70% are going to come in from a mobile phone. And while she's talking about that, if you look up in the top right of your screen, you're going to see a save button. So not only if they drop off, will we send them reminders, but they can choose to drop off and hit that save and then put their email in, and it's going to send them a link to just continue on in the forum. right where they left off. So exactly to your point, a fight breaks out in the living room with the kids, and you just hit the save and go. But I like to point out here too, and you can continue on, Emery. You know, it, we're in an age where cyber liability and criminals are collecting data in so many different ways, and it's actually become, I don't want to say reckless, but dangerous to collect data on email. So when you use an application like Salt, you're getting permission and privacy statement. You're also getting all that security that we've built into the app for a secure data transfer process.
So we've got the address here. If the customer puts that they've lived here for less than 3 years, it will ask for the previous address for the agent. Important to note.
To point out here that we get asked, do you do rental properties, do you do vacation homes or seasonal homes, et cetera, et cetera. And so we use a logic tree process here. So once we find out what type of property is, if it's a rental or a second home or a primary residence, then our flows will immediately respond to that and allow them to get the specific questions they need, for example, for a rental.
And then if I put that it's not a rental, it's going to bring me into, is it primary, is it secondary, is it seasonal? So I'm able to move forward here.
I never understood why, when with the insurance companies and their quote forms, why they didn't have that smart logic in the back end. I mean, you have this massive application or a cord form, and you're trying to figure out what parts do they need and not need. And especially when you're new, if you have a new staff member, I remember the first time I ever filled out an Accord form, and I'm like, I don't even have half this information. I remember the underwriter telling me, well, you only need the important parts. I'm like, but what are the important parts? Like, I'm new. I don't know what you want. Like things like that, right? Where it's so hard to know. And the insurance industry obviously isn't super focused on making it easy for agents to do business with them, which is why solutions like Salt have come out. Because when you're an agent and you're sick of the technology provided to you for so long, it's just natural to want to find a better way, right? Like you said earlier, this has got to be easier. There's got to be an easier way. So I love this solution. I love it for training too, just how it's so easy, right? Is there a pool? Yes or no? These questions where there's the additional drop downs that you don't have to have in front of your face. You don't have to worry about collecting it if the answer is no. Nice and smooth.
Yeah, definitely easy for the consumer to fill out. So we're just giving you a preview of some of what we offer. We have a whole library of questions on the back end, so the agent can really tailor what they want their form to look like.
Yeah, if you're in an area, where there's not a lot of swimming pools, you probably don't have to worry about that question.
This is going to be an example of, we have several of these. We're going to demonstrate a couple today. I call them risk management questions. So really allow the agent, if they choose, to go beyond data collection and put the insured in some situational questions, right? I used to be taught, don't speak insuranceese. So that's where this question comes from. Oh no, your toilet overflowed. You think the city will pay for this? You're wrong. Do you want us to cover that or not? And now we're starting to differentiate from being a commodity. People are starting to think, well, wait a second, maybe there's more to this than just the low price. You'll see.
I absolutely love that pop up. It's one of my favorite things.
What do you call her, Emery?
Her name is Tina.
Just to help mitigate your a little bit as well. Like, you chose no, really? Is that really what you want to decide? So now that's a documented answer in the process.
Yeah, and then I'll point out too that all of the subtext is editable. So if the agent doesn't like the way that we have described something, they're able to come in and make changes there. They're also able to curate the drop-down lists here. So if there's options that the agency doesn't offer or they don't want to have displayed, they're able to remove those options. And then they're also able to set a recommendation. So we do show their recommendation first, and then it does get the star. So if I were to select another one, that's going to go away. So just important because you're guiding that consumer through the form and, letting them know that these things are important, what they are, and then also what they should potentially choose. So as the home flow wraps, we are driven straight into the auto flow. We're not going to collect data points again that we've already collected on the home side. So you'll see here that it did bring in some drivers in the household that I'm able to just select and then move forward in the process if I wanted to. And then on the next screen, we're using big data to bring in the vehicles that are in the household. So the consumer is is able to just say, yes, I have these vehicles and move forward in the process, as opposed to tracking down VIN numbers. Now we know sometimes it doesn't pull, maybe it's a new vehicle or it's registered maybe at a business address. So they are able to enter a VIN number and we'll verify that that VIN does match a year, make, and model.
While we've built a lot of things ourselves at Salt, we've also loved to partner with great tech. And so we have public data partners, Fenris and Estated, built into the Salt ecosystem for our agents to be able to acquire data from public data. We're going to bring that data right into the form for the consumer to verify, as well as provide a rich payload of data on the back end that you'll see in a minute. And so we're going to find those VIN numbers. We're not going to display them to the consumer for privacy purposes. We don't want to invite criminals into our flow, but we will have them on the back end and allow the consumers to verify the year, make, and model.
Yeah, I love that. So many agents, and myself included, when I first started using, instead of paper forms, digital forms, created my own using like Jotform, Gravity Forms. I used to use Survey Gizmo, there's Survey Monkey, there's all these like survey things. But to be able to build this out with all of this back end logic, I mean, you guys are talking about, probably, I would say at least 100 hours, if not more, if you're good at it, to build something this robust. But it's not going to pull in that public data, which makes it so easy for the consumer to be able to like fill this out. When you send them a form and you ask them to type in their VIN number, I will tell you from experience, the completion rate drops drastically the more information that they have to enter in. So it's got to be easy. And what we used to do is, we would have this really basic form and then try to quote and then go back and re-verify. But that's so many touch points with the prospect as well. And, in our society today, and myself included, we kind of have a short attention span. If it's not easy, they're going to find an easier way. To get what they're looking for. So you have to be, not only have that great customer service and, be that local person who provides that different experience in like an online company, but you still have to be easy to do business with. If you're too difficult and rigid, people will move away. So solutions like Salt, I mean, I love this, that it pulls in all that data. And then again, just from the, team member perspective, because you can do this internally as well. Just so smooth, so fast, so easy. And in today's market, when we're having to get quotes from several carriers because the market is so volatile, speed is super important. If you can't move through these quickly, then you're just wasting time and money.
Yeah, no, you're right on. The VIN number is a train wreck, especially with a mobile phone. Right here, you're going to see another example of a risk management question. Oh no, you've smashed into the back of a brand new Mercedes. A Mercedes is always the bad guy car in a movie. And we're going to give them an example like that's the $150,000 claim you got here. You want us just to write you a check, for 50K, or do you want us to cover it all, right? So just starting to help with that higher limit option.
And again, you can set agent recommendations here and then curate these lists of options. So it gets real tailored on the backside.
Now, what a lot of agents will do there is they will set up a high net worth flow and set their own form up just for that. Because in Salt, you can set up as many forms as you want. So on their high net worth flow, they may approach those agent recommendations a little different than their mainstream flow, for example. And I'll take this one, Emery, and you can move through it. But a couple ways that you can gather policy information. Actually, 3 ways. One is you can ask them about their policy. That's my least favorite. She'll show you pretty quickly if you want to move to the next screen, Emery, is that we can upload like a Dropbox experience here. And you could ask any questions you want right here. Maybe you're in Florida and you need that wind report. Maybe you're in a state where you need pictures of the front and back of the house, or you want to invite them to upload their PDF insurance policies. They can do all that right here, and you can prompt them for that. At the end, if you are a subscriber of a policy retrieval service or a deck page retrieval tool, you can embed that link into your Salt flow and invite them to put their credentials in and collect those deck pages. So Salt's just going to be flexible in the way that you want to gather policy information.
So those collection companies like Canopy Connect and SureGrid, those are kind of the two most popular ones out there. There are others as well, but that it's really nice that that can sync up because it's so simple, and you're going to get a lot of additional data and all those coverages too. And back to the other page that you were showing where you were talking about coverage limits, you know, ever since I've been an agent and even before I was an agent, I was just a consumer. Everybody's worried about the price of insurance, right? Most of the advertisements talk about the price of insurance. And I think a lot of agents miss the boat when they don't take time to talk about the limits and the coverage, because if you don't want to have to worry as much about your quote price, then you should be providing more value, more education, and more coverage in your quote compared to what they currently have. That is where consumers are willing to pay more for their insurance because they know that they're getting more, they're better protected. And we had that in our agency every single day. We had an agency minimum. We talked about liability limits. We asked about assets. And we had a great closing ratio as a captive agency compared to the agents around us, and great retention because it wasn't just about the price. And this form can help change that discussion and guide your team through that as well.
For sure. And so as we wrap up here, we have the ability to ask if they want some additional lines. So just an indicator for the agent that there's other things that need to be quoted. And then when we get to the final screen, the customer is going to review the information here. They can make edits. They're going to verify the data is correct, and that they're ready to submit it for an insurance quote. And then they'll get the thank you message. And then simultaneously, we have sent the prospect a confirmation email that can be tailored to the agent's liking. And then the agent gets an email that they have a new submission.
Really easy, really easy. Just right. Everybody gets notified. It's all done. And then if they were working on it midway, so they get notified as they start working on it, right? As the prospect starts working on the form. And then if they didn't complete it, you get kind of different notification, right?
Yeah, within the system, and I'll show that. We'll show you when those reminders go out. The agent gets to customize the timing that those go out. So they may choose to send the first one within 30 minutes. They may choose to send it the next day. And then they can also customize what the message says in those reminders.
I love how the messages and even the scripting throughout the form is all pre-built and recommended, and then they can edit that as they want. Can do the same thing at Accelerated Automation. If as an agent, if you're trying to think of how do I want to say this, sometimes that's hard, right? I mean, unless you've got a copywriting background. So having a starting point and then tweaking it and putting your own touch into the information, into the feel of that and the message that it sends is so much easier than having to create all this on your own.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mariah. Like we used to obsess over every word, you know, because in the early days of Salt, you couldn't edit it, right? But there's just been a lot of thought into the language. And I like to say, you know, when you've met an independent insurance agent, you've met an independent insurance agent. So they do things in such different ways based on what they're focused on. And so we've really evolved in Salt to just be very adaptable for how they want to sell. For example, in that consumer form, which we're starting to change the language of even how we say that, we have some agencies, they have a lot of new agents, like a high volume of personal line salespeople all over the country. And they want to not just control the options they offer, but almost give them prompts. And so they've changed our whole form to where they're on the phone and the text is not to the consumer. It's reminding that agent what to say and why they say it, and remember to do this. And it serves as like a prompt all the way through the process. And then it's still gathering the public data for them to verify and sending it into the rater. So we didn't even think of that. You know, the agents have thought of that and used it that way, and it delights us. One other way, and Emery, if you want to show how you see the submission, but I did want to quickly, we're not going to go through it, but I wanted to show you that if you're an experienced agent and you like to take in data on the phone as part of your rapport building, we have built a very useful tool for that. You can just start a submission right inside of the SALT dashboard, and we'll send you into a very easy to operate vertical flow where you can just fly, you can skip questions. If you like to use assumptions in your rater already that you don't ask, and you can just add the lines of coverage as you go. We're going to populate this internal form with public data as well, and then you can send it right into your rater. with a click of a button. So that internal form, if you say, hey, I really want to use Salt more in an internal way and on the phone, we have built solutions for that as well. We're not going to camp out there for time today unless Mariah, you want us to stop there for a little bit.
No, you're good. Keep going. No, the internal form it's very similar to what we saw on the consumer form. So I think that we've covered that. Yeah.
So over into a submission, we're going to give you all the data that comes in. I mentioned the timeline. This is where those reminders would show, but we do tell you the start time. We do give you the completed time. We'll tell you if it's synced over to the rater. We do give you the whole payload on the data. So you're able to come in and see that whole report.
And on the integration piece too, like when you're talking about moving it to raters, you could also move it out to your CRM or other system. I'm sure that, a lot of people watching, obviously we talk about Agency Zoom all the time, are wondering if there's integration there. They have a Zap that they're working on that will allow Salt to integrate through Zapier into Agency Zoom, update leads, things like that, move it through your pipeline and your processes. So that is, I believe, getting really close to being fully launched in public. It is available to Salt users now, is that correct? But just not by invite only, correct?
Zapier, our Zapier integration has been live for over 6 months. It's very easy to engage in our integrations page, which we'll show in a second. And we just got it published so that it's a public integration that you could find inside of Zapier. And I think there is, Jonathan was saying about a 90-day review process that they'll do that, but you can engage the Zapier integration from inside the Salt dashboard now.
Perfect. So if you're a Salt user, you can find that.
Agents. Yeah, we have quite a few agents using it right now with Agency Zoom, for example, and other CRMs as well. And they're also sending it over to raters that we don't natively integrate with. And by the way, while we're on that, we have native integrations with PL Rater, which we'll demonstrate today. We also have native integrations with Easy Links and Epic Quotes.
So again,
you were showing the Fenris data payload and the stated.
Yep. Yeah, we'll give you the whole backend report. So while, maybe you don't have some of these questions turned on, you're able to come in and see any public data that's out there on the home here in one space. I've seen it list square footage for basements, finished and unfinished, square footage for pools, outside structures, just a wealth of good data here that you may need in the quoting process. And then on the auto side, it is going to give you that full report as well. I get agents that report that they like that it lists the lien holder. They like that it lists the owner of the vehicle. So for instance, this one's registered in a business name. If they're trying to insure it on a personal policy, you may have an additional question there. And then my favorite question that this report answers, are there any 16 or 17-year-olds? So if this says yes, and they did not put one on their consumer form, you may have another question as well.
I didn't notice before you have it says baby boomer or millennial. That's so interesting, or it has kind of that segmentation, right? There's a big difference between those types of customers and how you would choose to interact with them.
Mariah, I think that was the first time I've ever noticed it when you pointed it out.
I just noticed it.
I don't even know if that's new. What's cool about us stated in Fenris is they're always developing their product as well. And so as they make upgrades, you'll see that be provided here.
Flows through. Yeah. I also wonder, and I haven't asked this question before, but we have a lot of agents who are using virtual assistants now, right? Some of them are overseas, some of them are stateside, but VA companies are, continuing to grow because of the demand to be able to move quickly in the hard market. And then of course, just the employment market here in our country is rough. So this is a great place where if you are using a VA and they can have access to this and go in and build the initial quote through the rater and hand it off to the producer for that level of efficiency. The question I wanted to ask on that was, do the terms and conditions and privacy policies, would that VA be wrapped up into those disclosures? How does that work?
I mean, the terms and conditions and privacy are there to protect the agent and Salt, that they have a right to use this data. And so to answer your question of how it would interact or give permission to a VA, would have a lot to do with the contract between the independent agent and that VA service, such that if they are part of their firm, then that would extend that protection. It's funny that you bring that up because we see that a lot in salt. We have one agency that's a very tech-enabled agency that their entire team that uses salt is in India. And so we've gotten on calls with them. We do build quite a bit of spam tools into Salt. Salt has attracted quite a few criminals and spammers trying to mine data. So there are a litany of spam tools. We usually start our agents with them on. But for example, if someone tried to apply for home and auto insurance from India, it would kill it because that's going to be a very rare scenario and likely spam. And so agents can turn those back off if they want for certain scenarios. But we provide a lot of protection from spam inside of the Salt ecosystem.
And I will say one of my favorite is the state filter. So agents can tell us, hey, I only write in these 4 states. And if somebody tried to apply outside of those states, it's going to give them a, sorry message. We can't write your insurance. So that just really helps the agent, filter out things that they know they're going to have to say no to anyway.
Yeah, that's perfect. Don't want to waste time on it. Well, don't want to waste the consumer's time if you can't help them to.
Right. Exactly. So we do give you all of the data that the consumer fills out here within the system. This is printable if you wanted to move it to a management system of some sort. And then we'll give you the documents that they upload in the document tab up here. And then this bridges over into PL Rater. Again, we do go to Easy Links and Epic Quotes as well. So if I click this button, it's going to take me into PL, and I'm able to come in and see that data that's been moved over. So I've got all the data here. So any field that I have filled out within the SALT form is going to push over into PL Rater. So I'm able to just come in, verify that this all looks good, and then move forward with the carrier quoting section.
Love it. The easier, the better your systems communicate together, just saves so much time. When we talk about automation in so many different forms, it doesn't necessarily mean outbound automation. It's a lot of internal automation, saving you guys time on moving data, instead of downloading PDFs and uploading and saving and retyping notes and copying and pasting. Look for ways to get rid of as much of that as you can. And when you have these native integrations, the systems work together, you eliminate all of that.
Yeah,
Less clicks.
That's a big important point that I'd like to build on, Mariah, is that we've seen, I don't know if I'd call it competitors, but other insurtech, they've used Zapier to go to the rater, or they've used even, other means to get into the rater. And the agent gets in there and starts using it and finds out that only 50% of the data is moved over. Or we saw in one case where the rater saw that they were sending data in a way they didn't approve and just killed it, right? And the entire service went away. So I just want to take a moment to say, Salt, we work with direct contracts with the raters, with PL Rater, with Epic Quotes, with Easy Links. These are attorney reviewed agreements, both teams working together to create an important solution for our mutual customers. So you can depend on these rater integrations with Salt. Oh yeah.
Well, then one thing we talked about, go ahead, sorry.
No, right. All you.
I was to say one thing we talked about yesterday was, we have a lot of agents who have locations in multiple states. You alluded to this earlier. If you write in multiple states, and maybe you have a different rater for those different agencies because of the appetite there and the carriers that are offering quotes back. So if you did need that, it would be separate SALT accounts for those agencies with a direct integration with the rater. So there's still the ability to do it. And you can have custom forms for different locations. But if you do have multiple raters within your organization, then you would have a separate account with SALT to be able to integrate there.
That's true. That's true. And if you switch raters, SALT has built a translation system where that's very seamless as well to repoint, your shotgun, so to speak. Emery, I just want to take a minute here. What we've built, and this just released at the beginning of February, but we're building basically a data store. We call it the SALT Data Credit System. And you'll see our 2 featured data partners where SALT doesn't ever charge our agents to send data places. It's part of our mission to send it wherever you want. And Salt's built to collect data from the consumer. However, there's a lot of data that can be collected from places other than the consumer. And then that's where Salt's going to partner. We're going to partner with various data partners, and we're in conversations with many. So right now we have home data or property data, and we have auto data. And as an agent customer, you're going to be able to purchase credits that you can redeem for those data collection firms. That, as you can see, they're branded. So these are third-party companies we've partnered with, and you can buy data from them on a per submission basis through Salt. And so that's called the Salt Data Credit System, kind of like going to Dave & Buster's, loading up your card, and each video game redeems a different amount of credits, right? Based on its sophistication and cost. Same with us. It's quite a bit more expensive to pull VIN numbers in auto data than it is home. So you're going to see a different credit value to redeem for that. But imagine data policy retrieval software. Mariah mentioned a couple. Imagine those living right here and being able to pull policy information into your Salt platform. Imagine MVRs or driver insights or clue reports or replacement cost analysis. All that is coming in the Salt data credit system, where whatever data you want, you're going to be able to acquire that inside of Salt. You're going to be able to turn each of those on and off by form. So you're going to control that, and you basically have a store inside of Salt that's now live, and we'll be adding partners as we go. Also, you'll see here and I'll stop there in case, Mariah, you want to ask any questions or comments.
No, I'm just sitting here like just smiling because these are just the things that, when you become an agent, you're like, man, why isn't all this in one place? Or why doesn't the carrier do this? Or it's just awesome. I love it. I get so excited about it because I just knowing all the pain points that, agents have every single day. And how the technology we have available is it's so clunky from the companies, the carriers we work with. And really even I'm going to throw the AMS companies under the bus a little bit too. Like they are not great at this. They're not great at making it easy and have a good flow and customization, right? The software is kind of archaic. So I love that you're plugging in all of these pieces that you would normally pull like through your rater. That's where you're going to get all of those things, right? The MVRs and everything, but it's going to be here in a much simpler platform.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, that's and down here below, where do you want to send that data? Whether it's Epic Quotes, Easy Links, or PL Rater, it's as easy as hitting the connect button and putting your credentials in, and you're live sending data to that rater. Here's our spam filters. Salt, we want to protect the agent, but we also realize that agents are big girls and big boys. So if you want to turn it off, you can. But I'll tell you why it's so important. It protects your data credits. So if you don't use spam and a spammer comes in, they can run up 100 data credits on you, and that's going to cost you money and chaos in your system. So Salt has these tools to protect you, but if they're causing you a problem, once again, you can turn them off. And that'll lead me to our Zapier integration that you brought up earlier, Mariah. Very powerful, especially if you're a tech-enabled agent, or if you have someone like Mariah and her partners that can help you hook up your Zaps to wherever you want the data to go. That's fully enabled at Salt now. In the future, you'll see us do more with Zapier, where we'll offer templates and ready-to-go tools within the Zapier integration now that we're public. And we're always looking to partner with other places, such as Agency Zoom, for native integrations when it makes sense. But Zapier, we send every single data point we collect to Zapier if you want. So it's pretty powerful presently.
Yeah, I got to see it yesterday. And one of the things that I really, like Jonathan brought up that I was really grateful for is normally in Zapier, when you're building your own Zap, you have to do a test run, right? So you would fill out your own Salt form and then use that as the test run to build the Zap. But you guys did this a little differently. You created a templated test run when you build the Zap. So you actually have all of the data points filled in with test data versus the agent having to go through and make one themselves. And then maybe they missed something, right? So we talked about it will pull a max of like 5 drivers, 5 vehicles, versus if you ran a test and you put in 2 cars and now a prospect fills out the form with 5 cars, now you don't have it mapped properly in Zapier and you're missing the data. So there's other software that I've worked with on Zapier that you have to do your own, and you'll realize, oh, this was a larger household. Now you have to go back and pull the retest and remap your Zap to try to capture all of it. So Salt has really made that much easier. If there is an ability to collect a piece of data, it's pre-mapped in a test, so you can go in and build your Zap. And it is very robust, meaning that you have a lot of options. Not that it's difficult. If you have a good understanding of Zapier, you'll be able to use it very well. But I absolutely love that pre-built test. That's unique.
Thank you, Mariah. You're better at presenting Salt than I am. So I wish we could recruit you. I will give a shout out to the dev team. Salt's built around our developers. I've sometimes wished we were more marketing savvy and more sales savvy, but we just are built around the devs. And Jonathan's a dev. He's a lot more than a dev. And what he can do is incredible. He's like a superhero. But his dev team, our relationships he's had over a decade, they're W-2. They just work for us. They're here in the US, allows us to be very, very responsive to opportunities and problems within the Salt world. So you can bet that if you have a challenge in Salt, you open a ticket and they swarm. And a lot of times the person working on your ticket is one of our developers. So shout out to what they've been able to do in that area. We're going to kind of close with our form building, really where we showed you a very abbreviated form for time purposes and to just not bore you, but building a form in Salt is easy. And agencies have very different philosophies here, right? I mean, some want a complete underwritten app. I mean, we had one agent said, I really need that odometer question. I really need, is that water heater electric or gas, right? And we have other agents that say, look, I'm not asking more than 4 questions. How do we do this here? So you can get Salt down to 4 questions if you want, I think. Or you can have it be 100 questions. So you're getting to determine that, and you can have different forms for different prospect journeys, right? You don't want to throw a long form at a cold lead off the website. So use a short form. But if it's a referral with trust already established, and you can say, hey, I want to get to where I can advise and consult, but I need to collect some data first, go with the long form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and super easy to create. So you just, click on create agency form. We're going to put in a name. We're going to hit next. We have some templates already built if you want to use one of them. I like to use the one that has all the questions in it, which we call the kitchen sink, and then just par back from there. So we'll hit finish and share, and then let's go. And that'll bring you into our form builder where, as Dustin said, you can start removing questions that you don't want to ask simply by hitting the little trash can icon. And then you're able to come in and make those edits, make it more customized for your agency. So in the middle of the screen here, you'll see, here's the text for that welcome message. If I make an edit here, you'll see the preview over on the far right is going to reflect that. And we do give the mobile version preview in this builder. And then moving into how we make those deductible or limit options customizable. Again, super easy. You click on the field, click into deductible limits, and from here we can remove options just with a click of a button. So really, really easy for the agent to set up a form and make that recommendation. And then you'll see now we've curated that over here in the preview for you.
I love the kitchen sink idea because, again, knowing what all the options are in one place and then being able to whittle down versus trying to build up is going to be so much more efficient.
Yeah, I always like to say I'm a better editor than creator. Give it all to me and let me edit.
Exactly. Yep.
And if you remove an option, you're like, oh, wait, I do want to ask that question. As simple as just hitting this little plus sign, and then you can throw it right back into the flow. And you can also reorder the question. So if you want it to be in a different place, you're able to just drag and drop, save, and you're ready to go here as well. This is also where you can customize that confirmation email that goes out to the customer, where those reminders can be set up. Where you can choose who on your team will be notified. So multiple people can be notified on the team. And then as Dustin mentioned, you can turn those integration partners on or off per form.
And then you can see completion rates on the forms as well, correct?
Correct, yes. So we'll show you starts and then completed submissions for each form.
And
So
that's good to know, you guys, if you are building your own custom form and you kind of go gangbusters and use the kitchen sink and you see a very low completion rate, then you're probably getting a little like survey fatigue from your prospects. So looking to whittle that down a little bit more and grab the most important things. So I love that it has that tracking in there because especially if you're one of those agents that, you're like, I want to build it all. I'm going to do it myself, which, that's great. But keep an eye on those parameters because the goal is complete submissions, right? And if you're not getting that, you've got to be willing to go back and edit and adjust that form.
Yeah, and what's
That's
nice.
a really good point, and a shout out to maybe an agency, Zoom agency. We have one of our top users. Uh, He does drive a lot of traffic to his website. He actually doesn't use Salt right there. He uses a warm lead capture. He sends that to agency Zoom and starts his nurturing program. And it's from agency Zoom reach outs that he embeds his Salt link, at the right time. And so we've seen that work way more effective for cold leads for your website. Obviously you can use Salt for that warm lead capture as well. And then when he's got more of referrals or personal relationships, that's when he's going to go long form. And so it's just one example of how people use their website, agency, Zoom, and Salt together.
Mm-hmm.
Emery, do you mind? Let's maybe talk about an internal producer. Maybe it's a commercial producer, employee benefits producer, one of the owners. How can we customize a form for them and it track every lead that comes from them?
Yeah, so once you have a template set, it's really easy to duplicate the form. So I've clicked on this one, but I'll show that a quick action. So let's say you create an agency template. You want all your producers to use the same questions, but you want to be able to track how much the producer's using the link and how many submissions they're getting back. So you would just hit duplicate form here, name it the producer's name, and then it'll bring you into the form where it's copied over all of the questions that you've set in that original template. And then from there, it's as easy as uploading the producer's picture if you want to. And then you can really curate this welcome message to make it a little bit about the producer, maybe their background in the insurance industry, or just a basic welcome message, but you're getting that more tailored look. And then the prospect's getting a preview of the person that they're going to be working with. So you'll
I
see
love this I even love this for like your service team, right? So if you've got a customer service team, I think a lot of agents miss or underutilize their customer service team, right? They're talking to your customers every single day. They should be cross-selling, which means they could have a form of their own when they find those opportunities they can fill out. And then via the Zapier, and this is true of any CRM. I always go to agency Zoom because obviously that's what we use every day, but you can use any CRM, but through the Zapier integration based on that source of the form source, for that individual CSR, have it go into the CRM that you're using so it tracks that and then incentivize your customer service team based on the number of cross-sell opportunities that they create. We had done that. We always had a cross-sell compensation plan for CSRs, but we also then added Google reviews. So we would say, hey, but combination of Google reviews and cross-sell will get you to your monthly or quarterly bonuses, however you incentivize them. But, just because they're not salespeople doesn't mean they can't ask questions and gather opportunity. And ultimately, we are sales businesses and everybody's got to be pushing that growth. So I love this for producers in different lines, but I also love this for all of your customer service staff.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. And people just take a lot of pride when their name's on that form. And they'll push it more. We have one agent out in the East Coast, and she likes to have a little fun in the evenings, and her and her friends will go bar hopping. They'll meet a lot of people, and they airdrop their Salt link, and they get quite a few leads from it. And so just having it in your email signature, ready to go in your phone, and being able to flip it over, say, "Hey, this is my form. It'll go to me."
Yeah.
Allows you to leverage that personal relationship approach that independent agents are so good at.
Yep. Totally. Love it. This is really cool.
We won't show it. We'll use the same concept for your external COIs. So mortgage brokers, financial planners, they can co-brand if you want to, but we're gonna allow you to give them the link. You can create a lot of times physical is good here. If it's a financial planner, you can create a card for them with the QR code on the back. You could take their cards and put the QR code on the back, but it just really allows that visual in the referral partners' offices as well. So that's all very engaged and enabled. Easy to send this to social media. We give you the embedded code for the website link. All
Yeah,
that's
and
taken care
again,
of.
very
So,
easy for tracking. If you've got a center of influence, you should be tracking that activity, how many they've sent you, what your closing ratios are, because those are ways that as you build that relationship, you can help kind of coach them up on how to better position you if you're not having great closing ratios. Or if they are a professional, like right now, there's a lot of, we're in 2024, there's a lot of agents referring to each other because you can't get appointments and appetites have changed and underwriting guidelines. And if you aren't, negotiating commission shares with the agents you're referring to, then you're really missing the boat. So this is something you could do between agencies as well. When when your carrier drops out or you just can't write a certain line anymore because the appointments you have changed, you could create their own form. Any insurance agent's going to be happy to do this, especially if you guys are sharing commissions on that. So lots of opportunity to make those relationships easier. And again, just less rigid, right? You don't have to type out a whole email to me. Just go through this quick 5-6 question form and I'll take it from there.
yeah. Yeah, and I'll close with and if you have any questions, Mariah, I'm happy to answer them, but I'll just close with a coming soon. Rarely do we talk about something that's not out yet. It's a no-no in our culture, but our partners already advertising us, so I think it's safe. But we're very passionate about getting the data where it needs to go, and we've heard quite a few frustrations in the hard market that, they're working with carriers that aren't on the radar. Maybe it's high net worth like Chubb or Pure, or maybe it's a state carrier. And so getting that data into the carrier website is also a huge need. And we're excited to announce a live partnership coming very soon with Gaia.ai. Gaia.ai is, I think their language is like supercharged copy and paste. Like it's copy and paste on steroids. Imagine hitting one button and copying everything on the screen and then it automatically figuring out how to fill all the fields in the carrier website. Well, Salt and Gaia have taken that a step further and created an integration where if you use Gaia to populate carrier sites, you can pull all that right from Salt. So we're very excited to see that go live soon. We already have agents using it and testing it, and they're like, this is game changer. So
Yeah,
we're very
and that
excited
is,
about that.
I love that platform. I can't wait till they get out of their like closed, product, whatever they're still doing, test or beta, whatever they're calling it, because there's just a select number of agents in there now. But that is huge because raters have been less useful in the last, 18 months than they have been in the last 10 years. And in some markets like Florida, there's almost nothing coming out of a rater and the amount of time that it takes to do that. So this is so cool because you can take in the information through Salt, grab that copy paste through Gaia, pop it into all your carriers. I mean, you're talking about taking a 45-minute process if you're quoting 3 or 4 carriers and putting it into like 10 or 15 minutes. Think about how many more people you can serve and how much faster you can grow your agency. Just, it's so exciting. So like even just Gaia on its own is exciting. And it's just awesome. I'm so glad you guys went to Indie Tech last year and met them because that solution for agents is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. And the way they're going to work together will make it even easier than Guy already has it. So that's
cool.
really all I have. Hopefully we've been able to demonstrate the collection and transfer. Hopefully been able to show you how we can leverage your referral centers of influence to make those pop, and be that missing link. And hopefully you can see where you can deliver a world-class prospect experience that is as good as any of the directs for your prospects when they're trying to apply for insurance. So, and we just want to say thank you, Mariah, for having us on this recorded demo. It's really fun.
Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. So how do agents reach you? What's the best way for them to do that?
I mean, I know this sounds a little cliche, but saltinsure.com, our website, will do a nice overview of what we offer and our value proposition. Offers a very easy way to click in and see if you want to do a demo. I still do a lot of the demos myself with Emory, and we do some group demos. So you can go through that to see if that's a fit for you. Easy to find me on LinkedIn, Dustin Parker with Salt. And so we're just any way we can help, we would be honored. I'll be actually at Accelerate. I imagine you're going to be there too, Mariah, here in a couple weeks in New Orleans. So look forward to seeing people there as well.
Are you guys going to be at Indie Tech again this year?
We are.
Perfect. So we've got Accelerate. Perfect. I'm going to be there too. I'm excited. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I've never been there, so this will be my first time. But that one's it. That one's coming up, and that one's going to be fun. I love that it's just all tech for agencies, just all about that efficiency.
Yeah, we're very passionate about that conference as well, and what it offers for emerging tech. It's great.
Well, thanks, guys. So go to the SALT website, check it out. I don't even know if you'll need another demo. I think we got pretty in depth on this. But if you are filling out paper quote forms, just stop it. Just get a hold of SALT and just don't do it anymore. Like, that's your grandpa's way of taking in insurance information, and you're missing so much valuable data and wasting so much time. Just stop doing it. Anyways, go to the SALT website. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate it.